Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cobbletalk, the Penguin Podcast. A Penguin Podcast. The,
No, it's
the
everyone.
Penguin Podcast. We're going to be talking about episode 6 tonight on the show. Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me. Let's go around just real quickly and tell everybody our high-level thoughts of the episode. What you thought. Justin, you were last to get here, so you have to go first.
Fair enough. As usual, episode's great. I mean, this show's it's really incredible how they've been able to make this show as good as it is. I feel like we're surprised every week by how good it is. So I mean, floored.
Cool. Bill.
Yeah, I think about it immediately after every episode, and I'm like, how much did I like this one? And this episode was probably my favorite, I think, of the whole season, which
Wow. Okay.
I'll go into why as we talk about more of the episode. But yeah, I think it reinforced that the show is so good at it earns those really big plot development moments because you care about the characters and how well they're fleshed out. So it makes the plot development happenings more meaningful. So, and I'm a big character guy in any type of media, whether it's movies, television, games. So this one had it character stuff in spades. So that's why I was probably my favorite of the season.
Lockmore.
I'm gonna be a bit contrarian because this was my least favorite.
Wow.
Out of all the episodes, I thought the time
Unbelievable.
jump was cool. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought the time jump was pretty cool at the beginning. So we're getting closer to the Batman 2, where it snows effectively, and it was snowing here. But other than that, I thought it was a TV show, and I thought it was very cartoonish. But I still liked it. I still thought it was great. Good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'm actually with you there, Locke. This is, I don't know if it's my least favorite, but it's definitely on the lower half of what we've seen so far. I still think it's better than 98% of all the other television out there, but I didn't think this episode was as strong. Now, maybe in plot development to some extent and character development, as Bill mentioned, I think it was, but this is this is the episode that felt the most like, oh, this is a TV show, as opposed to this is a masterpiece to me. I don't think it was bad. I still thought it was good, and it was even great at points. But let's get into the episode. We start out, and I think there's just a totally different tone here. You've got, Oz commentating as a narrator almost over top of the introductory scene. We zoom in, and we've got this nice cinematic shot, but of Victor riding in on his motorcycle into the underground lair where they've built up their base, and they're developing this huge operation. There's been a time jump because they've got a whole bunch of inventory, a whole bunch of employees, which I think we predicted there'd be a time jump here before this next episode.
Yeah.
And somebody messaged me and was like, it was in the trailer for next week that there's a time jump, and I'm like, I don't watch the trailers. We record this 3 minutes after the last episode. How am I supposed to know that? Yeah. But the one thing I wanted to point out here in this is not that there's this big operation ongoing. There's two things. Actually, I said one thing. There's two things. One, Oz is very much telling Victor at this point, this is ours. We're doing this. We're going to be remembered. And the second thing is that remembrance part. Oz is very insistent upon, we're the good guys. We're going to be remembered. People are going to know our names. I think that kind of sets the tone for this episode, in my opinion, as it should, as the introductory scene, of course. But what did you guys think? We'll go in reverse order, Lockmart first, of the setup here.
The voiceover immediately made me laugh of how bad it was. It was like, yeah, we're finally doing it. We're cool now. I'm the penguin now. It's like, yeah, okay, guys. Okay, we're watching a TV show now. So I thought that was pretty stupid. But the time jump itself, again, I thought was pretty cool. We know the Batman 2 takes place 2 weeks after the show ends. And it takes place in the winter when it's snowing, so we're there now. So I'm curious.
Oh, I didn't realize that it was that quick.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks after the show ends. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see where it goes from there. But yeah, the start of the episode, I was a bit uneasy. I was like, what are we doing? But okay, still good.
Yeah. Bill, what do you think of the beginning here?
Yeah, it was funny that you guys mentioned it. Yeah, because it was a little bit awkward. It was almost like the start to a whole new season of TV, or like the sequel movie, right? Like the way it started, it was like people had forgotten what happened before entirely, so we have to remind them of like what's going on. And But no, I did like the little scene between him and Penguin and Victor. You know, kind of reinforcing the theme of wanting to be the guy in the neighborhood that everyone looks up to, and he provides for them, and love and loyalty and all that stuff. So it's like you can almost see his dream materializing before his eyes. Like you believe his excitement when he's like, hey, we're doing it. You know, we're making it happen. So yeah. You see the growing bond between him and Victor. That's what stuck out to me.
I want to add one more thing before we get to Justin. I think they're overdoing it now with the Rex stories, or with the everyone's gonna remember us. It's been every episode now. Like the first episode, that was really cool, but like 6 episodes in, it's like, shut up. Okay, I know where you're going. But go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Well, I think it's like, and to add to that, it's like we need to get to the payoff, which might be the next episode. Given how this one ends, I feel like they'll hold that cliffhanger for another episode.
Yeah.
So I think the next episode probably is just going to be full flashback, but maybe, who knows? But for this part of the show, I like that they keep showing the bond. I do agree that it is being overdone because it is a lot. And there's a lot of that like partnership and almost, like familial bond that they've kind of started to develop. We see that a little bit further along in the episode too. But it is cool to see, like, I mean, I wish we actually got a firm date, like amount of time that it's been, because we really don't know. I doubt it's been like a week. It's had to been a couple months. I don't know how quick mushrooms grow. But there was a lot of them.
It's been 2 months. It started in October, and we're in December now, I assume.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Okay. So then that makes sense, because their operation is huge. I mean, that was really cool to see, like everything pretty fleshed out. And like, their supply lines and everything's kind of being set up. So like, okay, this is becoming like a real thing. So that was nice to see.
We cut to seeing Sophia with her simp. That scene, I mean, other than the fact that it sets up some motivations there potentially, and the coldness of Sophia, I'm not sure what it added to the show. But we move into the real thing that matters here is Sophia and Sal, or Sal is staying with Sophia. And they have some discussion, they're talking some business, but I think the thing that highlights here is Sal and Sophia at one point were like mortal enemies, their families were at least. And now you see Sal almost acting as a father figure in this, they're cooking together, literally. I mean, they're also plotting the murder of the penguin, but they're cooking together. They're, having a real conversation. And I thought that was a lot of character development just in that one little scene of, do you want me to cut this up? Like, just something so simple. Talk about getting their revenge and all that kind of stuff. We cut back, and we had a lot of jumps here at the beginning, back and forth, which is good because it kept things moving. To seeing another type of relationship between Oz and his mother. Of course, he's working on trying to get the power going so that the music can get going. We know there's no music, or there's no sound in Crown Point. His mother is cold. Of course, she's sick. She's probably nearing the end of her life. She's really upset. And Victor has stepped into the role now, too, of understanding that she needs to be comforted a little bit, and that she needs to maybe have a couple lies told to her because she doesn't know what's going on, which, of course, Oz does not like. During this scene as well, there's also, if I'm remembering correctly, is this the scene where Oz gets the call? Yeah, Oz gets the call from, I believe, the Triads, who tell him, we don't want your product, because he sees on the news, they saw on the news that some of the guys who were selling Bliss got strung up, their pinkies cut off, kind of a sign, don't sell this product here. Feel free to chime in on the pieces about any of the family dynamics, whether they're real family or not, as well as how this sets up, Oz's motivations moving forward. Anybody can take it here. I'm not gonna dictate.
I only have one thing to say. Her haircut is fucking ugly.
Dude, I hate it. I hate it. She's still hot, but I hate her haircut.
Okay, they gave her the IDOPS haircut, but yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
she does have like a Cruella de Vil kind of look to her now. It's like, okay, we get it. She's like the primary antagonist of the show. We understand it. It's like they're gonna add like even more like mascara next episode or something to make her even more cartoonishly evil. But no, she's always great, and that's the scene between her and Salvatore was the type of scene that reminds you that this show is elevating itself beyond just standard comic book type of fare, right? Like we would 99% of these types of shows or content derived from a comic book property, we would never get a scene like that where it's like genuine, like you said, familial type of bond. It's like a dad making dinner for his daughter of sorts. And you get that kind of vulnerable moment from him where he's making this meal that reminds him of his murdered wife and son, down to the detail of like, oh, this is the way he liked to make it with the yogurt. And she, you know, a little payoff there was like, oh, he was right, you know, with the way that he liked to eat it. So that's like one of a few scenes of why this is probably my favorite episode of the season, because you get a really good character moment between essentially the two big antagonists of the season. So again, it was genuine, it was earned. Like it didn't just come out of nowhere, right? Like we understand how much Salvatore valued his wife and daughter, his wife and son, and how much really Sophia, you'd have to assume she would have liked to have the type of family life like that. And we get more hint of that from her later on in the episode with a different scene. But no, yeah, I really enjoyed that scene a lot.
Yeah, I think they're trying to set up a parallel, right, between Sal and Sophia, and then obviously Oz and Vic, in the two ways that both obviously you have that parental, thank you, like a relationship there, but obviously they're not the same, except that it's, I think with Oz and Vic, it's the fact that they came from nothing. They both came from the East Side, you know, in these communities that are seen as just worthless. And then, of course, with Sal and Sophia, from a more wealthy family, presumably, and in their criminal background. And I am curious with how much of that is sincere, especially from Sophia. I think that was a question we had at the end of last episode too, which how much is she playing into this, into this role of like, oh, family matters so much to me. And I think it did, but to what end? I think we'll have to wait and see.
One piece unrelated to the characters, the character development necessarily, but one thing I noticed is that Sophia is just housing her food, like disgustingly, just destroying it, which is a nice little thing that they kept that. Like, we see her make that big scene at the party, or funeral, I guess it was, at the wake, and we know that obviously she was in Arkham for however long, but she's still eating like an animal. Which, if she wasn't mentally ill when she went in there, it's clear she has some lasting effects from being there for a while. Moving forward, Sophia and Sal break into Oz's apartment, and they're looking for something. I think they say the line, "Hey, we got to find someone he cares about." Obviously, that's the motivation there. But
oh yeah, we maybe
I'm being a tad.
No, we called that we called that the Eve and his mother were going to be his 2 points of vulnerability. So
yeah. So of course, she tells Sal go do some swing practice, destroy the place, while she goes and digs a little deeper, finds a drawer devoted to Eve, which is kind of creepy, but also shows a little bit different side of Oz, I guess, too. He cares about someone, that's because, and here's my commentary on this. The interactions he has with Victor is the closest thing he has to a real friend. And even then it's a relationship of convenience. They work together because they need each other. When Victor was thinking about leaving, there was no fatherly, oh, do the right thing for you. It was very much like lashing out. And now, even at this point, we don't see it, but you have to assume like they're together because they need each other. And I thought that was yeah, I don't know. I think that's just how Oz operates because he's never really known in real life. Um, I forgot to mention earlier when they were having dinner together, they mention Rex. Is it Rex? Yeah, they mentioned Rex
again.
in relationship to his father, to Oz. So my theory from last week is that Rex was not his father, or maybe he was his father, but not his dad. You know, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe they're unrelated. Who knows? Anyway, they find out that he's got this potentially soft spot with Eve, which we called a long time ago, and again go back to Oz again with his mother, and he comes in and finds her in the tub, the cold tub, needing help getting out. Treats her very caringly. It's his mother. Takes her, and she is in a moment of being lucid, where she understands that she's not always there mentally, and tells him like, when the time comes, I need you to kill me, basically, or help me die, I think is what she said. One more scene, and then I'll let you guys take it from there. It seems like a little throwaway scene, but Oz corners a councilman that clearly had a relationship with Oz's boss in the past, with the Falcones in the past, and convinces him with a pair of needle nose pliers that he needs to turn on the power in Crown Point. And I think part of it is his business interest, but the real motivator there is that he needs his mom to be warm because that's where she's staying right now. So anything from those scenes with visiting Oz's apartment to seeing Oz take care of his mother and her request, and then I don't know if there's much to say about the councilman scene, but that as well.
Well, what struck me the most is why did they wait 2 months or 3 months to go to his apartment if they already knew where he lived? So that was a little bit weird. But everything went as expected. What I found was pretty weird too, or what started to bother me this time around, was when he met up with the councilman, and the councilman is like terrified of him and does immediately what he says, even though he's like a nobody. It's like a random guy. So I don't know why the councilman listens to a random guy in the street, even though Oz literally tells him he's just like a guy. So that was a little bit weird too, but
we haven't gotten to it yet. But other people clearly know that Oz is running this new operation. Yeah, it seems to be doing pretty well. So maybe there's like word on the street that he's making moves.
Sure, but he's still like very low level. That's
correct.
That's what we see at the end too. So I don't really get the power dynamic there. But I thought the scene was pretty cool with the clippers at the nose. That was pretty awesome. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think what was kind of interesting with his mother, and then as before that, I think I'm pretty sure it's before he goes and see the councilman. It's Vic comes to him with with Squid. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to Oz saying, hey, we have a problem. We have this. And Oz is just super focused on the generator, trying to get it to work. And he's just like, yeah, whatever. He hits it or something. I think he pulls the cord again once, and he's like, this damn thing doesn't work. And he's like, well, you were saying something about a problem. Like he was so focused on the generator. And in essence, his mother, in getting his mother warm, that he didn't even care what else was happening and what Vic was saying, which I think is what makes that scene with the councilman more interesting.
I think another interesting part is he goes to a councilman who, in fairness, probably isn't going to go run tell the cops. He goes to him and basically says, like, this is the place I want the power on. Mm-hmm. Essentially saying, this is where I am.
Right.
I'm in this part of the city right now, which I thought was either sloppy writing or a character default, know?
Yeah. And yeah, it shows how much he cares, about his mother, which is what makes the end so interesting too.
Yeah, I thought it was. Now that I was thinking about it, the whole confrontation with the city councilman about getting the power back on. That was after the whole what I thought was a wonderful scene with him taking his mother out of the tub, and the scene where she's basically like, she's basically telling him, I'm ready to die if the time comes. Like, please do what you need to do, take me out. And he was pretty resistant to it. So you mentioned the comment about him saying turn the power back on at Crown Point. It's like he was that desperate, to basically out in the open in the parking lot confront an elected official and try to pull part of his nose off with needle nose pliers to get the power back on. That's how desperate he was. Yeah, and Justin, what you said about the generator too is that um, Vic was there, trying to basically ask Oz for advice or to try to defer to him on what to do, and Oz is just so preoccupied with what he needs to do to solve his own problems. Vic is like, well, I guess I gotta. This is my responsibility. I have to take care of it. So, which we obviously get a really good payoff for that later on in the episode. But no, yeah, I really loved again the character moments in this episode. I really loved the scene between him and his mother. Getting her all dolled up, and there's the reference he made to that, like Gilda, is an old Rita Hayworth movie from like the 1940s, where she's like old. She's a glamorous movie star all done up right. So yeah, that was a really good, maybe my favorite scene of the episode from beginning to end. So no, nothing else that I can think of that really stood out so far from what you brought up.
And what I would say for me was the most impactful scene. Victor, and you mentioned it there. I didn't mention earlier when Squid sees him
Yeah.
on the street and says, what are you doing? I know you're making money. You got these shoes on, which, Victor probably should have been a little more careful, but
Yeah.
he says, hook me up with your boss. After Vic gets no help from Oz, he goes and talks to Squid again and says, like, hey, we don't have anything, but here's some money. And of course, Squid's like, no, I know, you're not going to pay me off, playing the tough guy, but also like, there's obviously more if you're just willing to hand me this for doing nothing.
Yeah.
And puts him in a tough spot that he can't really get out of. And so, in a moment of desperation, maybe a little self-defense, you could say, although it was still cold-blooded, Vic kills. He shoots him. He randomly fires at him. Shoots Squid in the neck. Kills him, and he's obviously very upset. This is, he rammed that guy with a car earlier in a couple episodes ago, which we assume that guy is probably not doing so well, but we didn't see him die on screen. He had a dead body that he transported in a vehicle, but as far as we know, this is the first time that Victor has ever taken someone's life from them. And even if it was defensible because he knew he was in trouble, it's still impactful. So he's very upset, obviously, runs, leaves the money on the ground, runs back through the crime scene, which, will kind of shows up later. And I have a feeling will show up later as well.
Yeah.
And runs off. Of course, he's upset and goes back. I'll skip just over one scene. He goes back and meets with Oz at the hideout. Oz acts as a father, comforts him, tells him it'll get easier, which I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't want to hear it gets easier because I don't want to think at that point I ever got to do this again. Let's well, I was going to go into the part with Sophia and Eve, but let's go ahead and just stay right there in that big scene with, Victor's big scene, I think, for the season, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And the fallout from that. What do you guys, how did that scene impact you guys?
It was very gruesome. It was cinematically very well done.
Yeah.
It was very, like the rest of this episode, like everything in this episode, you saw it coming from a mile away, but that was okay. I thought it was well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was well executed. My guess would be that Victor kind of went there to meet up with him again, knowing that he would more than likely have to kill him. But I did, like Locke said, I love how well executed it was when they were walking. I think when he was walking past Squid, like either towards the stairs or on his way down the stairs, you could see like the conflict and the debate in his face, like, oh, am I going to do this? What do I do? And then I think he probably meant to quickly turn around and shoot him in the head, instantly killing him, but he shot him in the neck because I think that Squid was higher up on the steps than he thought. So, like Locke mentions, the gruesomeness of it, like shooting him in the neck, watching him basically bleed out and die very brutally, was obviously traumatizing. And like you mentioned, Ben, there was nothing really close as far as something that intimate that he has done. Like he rammed someone with a car, he handled a dead body, but nothing to that degree. And yeah, there was that really sort of odd, tender moment between, oh, it gets easier, like their dog died or something, like they had to put their dog down or something. But no, yeah, it was definitely a sort of deliberately awkward moment between the two. But Yeah, another thing I noticed too is that I don't know if you guys caught it, but he looked up very quickly after he shot him. I don't know if that was like a subtle Batman reference, like he was maybe
There
expecting
was a
Batman.
helicopter sound.
Oh, was it a
that-
helicopter? Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't
during
catch
that
that.
time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. But yeah, I saw every time I see someone look up, I'm like, oh, they think it's Batman. But but no, yeah, that was a very good moment, and I'm glad that was resolved rather quickly. I was afraid it was going to like drag on, but it was good that he was basically used as like a growth moment for Victor, even though it was well executed.
Kind of a bad growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's
Yeah.
like an asterisk, right? A tender moment, a growth moment for all these characters.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about all of that, because you guys brought up like, oh, he's killed other people, but this is somebody he knew, right? Like
I was
they
just gonna
weren't
say that.
they weren't
Yeah.
friends. I mean, maybe they were friends, but he knew him, and he knew his cousin most.
He's like one
right?
of his cousin's best friends. Yeah.
Right. So it's like
Yeah.
that was huge for him, and I think that was one of the conflicts he had, was like, this is somebody he knows. This isn't just some guy. And it's interesting, at the beginning of the episode, you see him have a gun on him, which it's like, okay, has he used it before? Is that just a showpiece? Like, what is it about the gun? Other than to show that he's now like really deep into Oz's plan and everything.
They shouldn't have shown the gun.
Yeah.
It's telling.
Yeah.
very Chekhov's gun for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the thing I was going to mention too, Justin, is just that this is not just some random guy. Presumably, they're from the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
He's been friends with his cousin. And in a neighborhood like this, typically, poorer neighborhoods, which they've talked about how Crown Point was a poorer neighborhood, people don't always get out of that neighborhood. So they've probably, or move into that neighborhood intentionally. So they've probably been there for a long time, known each other, even if distantly, for a long time. So this is not just some random guy who tried to attack him on the street that he had to defend himself over. He had to kill somebody he's at least been familiar with for a long time. So I think, I don't always like to get like psychosomatic, but that's got to have more of an impact for sure than just, random street thug number 3, in the
Yeah,
credits.
like that. I was just reminded of too that scene where he's like cleaning off his shoe. It's like obviously a little bit of paranoia, right? It's like any little thing is going to get him getting him caught. And then I think immediately after the next scene, he was already wearing a new pair of shoes. So it was like, it'll be interesting to see if there's more to that later on in the season.
The next scene also, I thought, a very well executed and well acted scene is when Sophia goes looking for Eve because she knows that she is important to Oz, or thinks she's important to Oz. Goes looking for her. Of course, is talking to some of Eve's employees, and they say, we don't know where they are until she finds one person who does know where Eve is. She goes up to Eve's apartment, and Eve is basically waiting for her, dressed down very, casually, and a conversation ensues. That's interesting. She offers her a drink. She says, "I knew you were coming." Basically, I told them to send you to me. They talk about her wardrobe and ask, has Oz ever seen you like this as opposed to like that? Pointing to the wardrobe, and we find out that Oz is not interested in the real Eve. He wants the made up Eve. And they start talking. Sophia's got a gun in her hand, but Eve plays everything very cool and calm, and essentially is not going to sell Oz out until Sophia tells her, "I'm not the hangman. Here's what really happened. Oz knew all along it wasn't me and let you think that. And those were friends of yours, and he let you think that." And then eventually, after Sophia pulls the gun off and goes to leave without killing Eve, Eve then tells her, "Go to Crown Point." That's all she gives her, but that's enough, right? Talk about that scene between Sophia and Eve, because I thought that really showcased. I can't remember the actress's name who plays Eve, but I thought that was a good show of her acting chops.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that threw me off was like, because of how calm she was, I'm like, is she on bliss? Is that what's happening here? Because like she almost looked like whimsical when she was walking around. She's like, yeah, Oz, he's very simple, and just kind of looking away, like not really like making eye contact necessarily. And I was like, is she just being cool or is she just gone?
I thought
I
she was
think-
scared.
I think she.
I thought she
I-
was.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think she probably accepted that was coming for a while. As soon as she knew like Oz blew up their operation, all the stuff that he's done, she's like, this day is going to come. It may not. It's just it's inevitable, right? It just depends on who and when, right? So I
I
think
just
she
want to
was
be in control of it. Yeah.
yeah, she's basically at peace in that moment, right? And it was again, it was thematic and real. It's like, oh, this is her real self. There's nothing more left to hide. It's really her. She's not gonna lie to her. She's not gonna try to deceive her. It's the real her, metaphorically and in the flesh as well.
Well, she does try to deceive her because she says she doesn't know where he is.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't. I mean, that wasn't exactly a lie, right? She said Crown Point, but
But she wasn't going to offer that information at
That's
first.
true.
She was
Yeah,
still
that's
playing a
true.
little deception. Yeah.
This was my favorite episode. This was my favorite scene of the episode because this made me realize that Sophia might live through it all because she
Yeah.
didn't do the typical thing of killing her. I thought, but as soon as she walked into the room, I figured, oh, she's gonna kill her to send like a message, like the typical TV show thing.
Yeah.
But when she didn't do that, I was like, oh, maybe she will survive, and we'll see her in the
Yeah.
Batman too. Because
Well, and I
she's-
thought that she was going to kill her after she admitted the information.
Yes.
I thought it's like,
That's what I thought,
oh,
too.
well, you did lie to me, so now
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you. That's what I was expecting, and then that still didn't happen. And it's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, it's a
it's just
secret
that-
between us. And I'm like,
And now,
okay.
now we have a bond between her and the horrors of Gotham. So, which
Yes.
sounds stupid, but I think that's gonna play an important part. I think she might be become one of those people, like one of those underground madams of Gotham, maybe. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
It's true.
yeah, there was that scene where she pulled back the hammer, and you're like, okay, she's going to shoot her like now or in a few moments. But yeah, I did like. In fact, I have it in my notes. She was rewarded for not killing someone. It's like, oh wow, what a concept! You don't kill someone, and things go well for you. So, but no, yeah, I was with Locke. That was probably my favorite episode, or excuse me, favorite scene of the episode.
I just want to talk about a gun thing here for a minute. She walked into that apartment without that gun loaded, pointed at somebody, which, hey, that's gun safety right there. Don't point anything, don't, every gun, you should treat it like it's loaded, but she didn't want to kill Eve at first. But then she does the, like, I'm a bad guy thing and cocks the gun. And I'm like, oh my, like, as someone who is familiar with guns, I'm like, really? Like, that doesn't show me you're tough. If I were in the chair, I'd be like, oh, you didn't come here planning to shoot me on the spot. Like, I don't know. I just hate that stuff. I hate anything that I know about. I'm sure other people in different disciplines that is done poorly. Every gun scene in every show and movie, for the most part, is done poorly.
Yeah.
Just my little soapbox.
It was also another example of how great that actress is. What's her name? Kristen Milotti, or what? I hope we see a lot more of her in other stuff. She's amazing. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Except for her haircut in this episode.
Oh yeah, awful. Eye-dubs. Yeah.
The next scene is really Oz somehow gets all of the gangs of Gotham to get together in a parking lot. They all hate each other, apparently, with his own commentary, they hate each other. And yet they're there waiting for him because they all hate him more than they hate each other. They know he's a bad guy. He admits to being a bad guy, doesn't try to persuade them. All he tries to do is pit them against Sophia and I can't remember their name. Sal's family, whatever. What's their last name? Maroney's. And in movie magic, it works.
Yeah.
I mean, they suddenly come to an agreement and all crack a beer together. Cynicism aside, I did think it was a really cool scene, just showing how much of a force Oz can be, and that he's able to persuade people. He's able to, more than he's able to persuade people, he's able to see the things that make them tick and exploit them. And the things that made each of them tick in this episode were their hatred for the rich, and specifically for the Falcone and, oh my gosh,
the Maronis.
Gigantes, thank you.
Gigantes.
Or
Yeah.
Gigantes.
Well, it's the Gigantes now,
Gigantes and Maronis, yeah.
but they've hated the Falcones for many decades.
Mhm.
At this point, what do you guys think about that? The scene where he pulls a bunch of beer out of the coolers like it's a Bud Light ad.
Well,
this was the scene.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Well, I was just going to say about the beer. It's just like, well, everybody can get together for a beer. That's all. That's
Right.
all really. That's everyone can be friendly with the beer.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Locke. That's all.
I thought that the beer concept was fun. That was
Yeah.
a cool way
Yeah.
to tell everyone they were. But I thought the scene itself was so I hated this scene. I hated it because it made no sense in the concept of the show. Like normally the show, again, we talked about this last week and it happened here again. Normally the show treats their audience with respect, and they didn't treat us with respect this time. They resolved an entire years-long conflict in
Yeah.
like 2 sentences. Even the guy from Lost, the Dharma Initiative guy, Feng Zhao or whatever his name is here, he blatantly tells everyone, like, don't trust him. He screws everyone over. And then Oz says, no, I'm not going to do that. He's like, oh, okay, fine. Okay, well, then fine.
Hey, this is just like when Kendrick got all of the Bloods and the Crips together on stage at his concert. Okay, it's the same. It's basically the same thing.
True. So I thought that was lame, honestly. But I get it. We're nearing the end. They had to do something like this. Like it had to come. It had to come to this. But I mean, next episode he's gonna betray them all because he doesn't give a shit about them. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was himself more than anything.
at first I was expecting something preposterous, like all the beers they were holding were grenades or explosives or something
Yeah, I thought
so
really
too, yeah.
insane. I'm like, oh god, they're gonna do this.
Poisoned. Yeah.
But no, yeah. God, what was I thinking of? I just had a brain fart. But no, yeah, I did like his little monologue spiel, kind of appealing to their resentment of everyone else above them. And if it was kind of a good payoff too, because at the beginning of the episode when they mentioned like, they're rerouting the power, they're giving the rich and powerful preferential treatment. So it's very possible that all of them, those crime bosses have had issues with electricity as well. So I did like that he's playing up to that. Of course, him having like a super popular product doesn't hurt either. Appeal to their wallets and their pocketbooks and their bank accounts. And I also did like that there was a sort of bit of honesty within him. He's like, yeah, I stole this product, and yeah, I killed Alberto Falcone. So in a way, he's kind of being upfront and honest with them about who he is, to counter when Feng Zhao is, yeah, this guy cheats and lies and backstabs all the time. We shouldn't trust him.
Right.
But yeah, I did think that scene went on a little bit too long. And it was kind of cheesy, but yeah, I am kind of hoping we do get a sort of, again, a kind of an ode to organized crime. I do hope we get a sort of like a Godfather montage where he takes all of them out in like a musical sequence.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, the
how,
triads will stay because they're canonical, so
Yeah.
they'll stay.
Yeah. They could, maybe they'll take
Yeah.
out just the boss or something. Who knows? But
Right.
No, yeah, it would be. I do hope we get some good, entertaining payoff with that. So
It's so funny that one of the bosses was a heavy gothic girl with a shotgun. Okay, cool. I don't know what she was supposed to be, but cool. Yeah.
Takes all kinds, man. Takes all kinds.
Yeah.
Final scene of the show. The power comes back on at Crown Point. I don't know why they called this episode Gold Summit.
Yeah.
Which was that throwaway line in the cheesy beer scene, but they could have just called this episode Power because every scene was power was mentioned.
That would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't ask me, so whatever. And it's also about fighting for power. But hey, again, I'm just a guy. Hook me up, HBO. I've written some stuff in my life. Power comes back on at Crown Point. Victor is there with Oz's mom. Does she have a name, by the way? Do we know her name?
No, I don't think we do.
I'm pretty sure we do. I just don't remember.
It doesn't matter. I just always
do.
refer to her as Oz's
Yeah.
mom. So
yeah, I can't remember.
Victor's back at Crown Point in the apartment with Oz's mom. The power comes back on. She freaks out because she's scared at first, but then is very into it. Gets out of bed, starts dancing. Kind of a sweet, kind of a corny scene. But hey, it gets the point across that's kind of what they were striving for. Of course, the camera pans out, and we didn't talk about this before, but Sophia is standing there. And at this point, she realizes, as Oz's mom, of course, is shouting, "That's my boy, Oz did it." Clearly his mother, that Oz lied to her. His mother is not dead. Maybe his brothers are dead. Maybe the rest of the stuff he told her, but his mom's not dead. And goes to credits, goes to black. So we find out Sophia not only was looking for a weak point, she definitely found it. And she not only has Victor in her grasp, which who knows, maybe Victor can fend for himself. He also has Oz's mom, who definitely can't. Where do you think this is going to go?
Her name is Frances, by the way.
Frances, thank you.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Where does this go? What does, obviously someone's going to die. Someone.
I think the
I
mom
assume probably Oz's mother.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you guys?
No, go ahead.
Well,
I-
she's at least going to be good bait, good ransom or whatever. So
Sure.
yeah.
She's also the only one that's dispensable at this moment. Like,
Mhm.
the other ones only payoff. She doesn't need payoff.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, that's why I think that the next episode is going to be a flashback, because it ends perfectly because you obviously want to know what's going to happen. And it's just like, yeah, you're going to do a flashback. Now we're going to learn all about Rex for the next episode.
Yeah.
I think that this is the one called Top Hat, which is what we predicted would be the Oz flashbacks.
Yeah.
Episode. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I can see it going two ways. I could see Sophia potentially walking out of that room, not doing anything, and either scaring Oz into believing that she did something, or I don't know, or kill them both. I actually thought, because of the whole thing with Oz's mother telling him, hey, if I start losing it, kill me, that she would be used in a way to take out Sophia in some way. Plant a bomb on her. I don't know. Some crazy shit. It's like, all right,
That style.
yeah, crazy shit. It's just like, oh, you had my mom? Well, I stitch a bomb in her stomach, and then just take her out. So I don't know. It really is interesting, because I feel like it's obvious. It's like, okay, yeah, she's gonna use her as bait, and we're gonna have a tender moment, and who knows. But I can also see nothing too.
Well, don't forget, before you continue your thought, if the next episode is a flashback, then the one after that is the last one. So don't forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think it is a flashback, right? Because I don't think there is much after this. I can't even imagine what else they would do.
Well, I agree with you, but I also think they have to set up who's going to be, the main, because they're not going to have a subplot of a warring two gangs warring in the Batman 2. And as much as this is its own show, it's also a setup for the Batman 2. So there has to be some resolution to who is on top here, because they're not going to be
who's
the
on
Batman. Batman acts as a mediator between the Penguin and Sophia or something.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
The only thing we know. Oh, go ahead.
No, so one of we actually didn't touch on this, and I think it plays into things we've talked about in other episodes about Dr. whatever his name is, that he says, if you get him, you can use my services. Yeah. We don't know what he does. We know he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, whatever.
Right.
But it very well could be like what Locke was saying, that he is Scarecrow. Mm-hmm. And I think that plays a little bit more into that theory, because that's a throwaway line, and he's gone for the rest of the episode. And I am curious, either we're going to see that either if the next episode is a flashback, then the following, or maybe they'll do what they've done in the other flashback, where it's a back and forth type thing.
Yeah, that's what they'll probably do, the back and forth thing. Yeah. It's I've completely forgot about that guy until you just mentioned him. That's also a big threat that needs to get resolved in one or two episodes. So I'm really starting to think that Sophia is going to be alive at the end of it, but will be back in Arkham, which is the ultimate punishment for her. So I think that's how her story ends. And I think Victor has got to go. He's got to die, because there's no room for him in the Batman 2. They have to make the Batman 2 acceptable for people who haven't seen this, so the Penguin can be on top. But if you haven't watched this show, then you won't care about Victor. So I don't think they'll put him in the Batman 2. That doesn't make much sense. So I think he's gonna go at some point in the next few episodes. And I think maybe the mom, like you said, Justin, maybe the mom attacks her or something, and she has no choice out of self-defense. Sophia has no choice but to kill her or something. Something like that has to happen, because
I could also see some crazy thing where it's she has both of them tied to a chair, pick one to live, type of thing.
Yeah.
He picks Yeah, he picks his mother. Victor dies. His mother's pissed. His mother ends up dying. He has nobody, and that's what sends him
Yeah.
off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see that type of stuff too.
Yeah.
Bill, I don't know if you chimed in on this final scene here or not.
Yeah, it was. Well, first of all, it was a really quick little payoff within the episode because earlier Oz was trying to get the record player working, and it like shorted out. And so, yeah, I did like the at the end where it was like this sort of this good. Again, it's like a triumphant payoff from the episode. Oh, he gets the power back on, and then literally what I have in my notes at the end is, oh no, she's there with the crowbar. I was like, I don't know what her. I don't know. I assume she had her gun because all you see is the crowbar, right? But I assume she had her gun. Like, what was her plan going to be? Like, there was she going to just kill him or like torture him or what? But
We're gonna case the joint, boss.
yeah,
That's what it was.
yeah. Well, she gave well, what's his name? Sal has a golf club, right? I think so.
That's right. Yeah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're both. I think they're both gonna live. I think Vic's gonna get like roughed up pretty well. But I'm still, yeah, like I'm kind of with Locke. Like, I don't think Vic is gonna make it out. So I am curious. Like, is he gonna betray Penguin? Is he gonna be used as bait and like play along? Because he kind of already has one of his two confidants just betrayed him because she found out he was, oh shocker, he was a liar and he lied to her and betrayed her. But no, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out 2 episodes. I'm still at this juncture, I'm kind of skeptical that we get like a whole flashback episode because we do only have 2 episodes left. So I don't know, maybe if we get like a flashback scene or we do
I think it'll be flashbacks. Yeah.
we do. You'd have to assume we are going to get some kind of reveal or payoff with Rex Calabrese or maybe Penguin's fatherhood or something, more information about his family. But no, yeah, it's hard to believe that there's only 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
Of this, yeah, I am curious. Again, how is he gonna? You have to assume that one or two of them is either going to be dead, or I think both are going to be captured. So, how is Penguin going to get out of this one? It'll be fascinating to see.
Tune in next time to see how Oz. Yeah, I really hope that whatever happens at this point, like I still want it to be somewhat grounded. Like all of this stuff is still possible, right?
Yeah.
But I do I'm like maybe Two-Face shows up. I don't know. Like something like I feel like there should be more comic bookiness now that we're at that point where we've broached into that area.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I thought it was a good episode. It was not my favorite episode, but that's okay because if they were all my favorite episode, that would be weird, and that's impossible. So we'll see how it goes, guys. Any final words before we head out? I think we've at least touched on all the topics here.
The show is at a breaking point for me now. If next week is great, or if the ending is great, I think this is one of the best shows ever. If the ending is not great, I can see why people didn't like it in the reviews. Like IGN gave it a 5. I still don't get that. But if the ending is like bad or horrible, or if it falls off a cliff, I can see how they got there.
They gave it a 5 overall.
Yeah.
Or for that? Okay.
No, for the whole season, which is like
Who reviewed
yeah.
it?
Don't know.
Oh,
IGN.
just some random person.
So
Yeah.
Sir,
I was gonna
IGN.
say if it was someone we know, then we can mock them for it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think a 5 is ridiculous, but I am starting to see how it depends on the final 2 episodes. I'm starting to see how they got there, maybe. Because I think this show started off as like a 10 out of 10, and then it built up, and then little cracks here and there, and now it's just so to me anyway. So
yeah, these 6 episodes we've seen so far, the last 2 episodes would have to be like drawings and fart noises for it to be a 5 still for me.
yeah, that's true.
I'm not
That's
saying
fair.
it's going to be a 10. I'm not saying it would be a 10 otherwise without the last 2
No, a
episodes
5 is
being great,
ridiculous. That's true.
but a 5 is very low for
Yeah.
it. Again, that was not my favorite episode. I think it's not as strong as the first couple episodes. The last few episodes haven't been. But it is still, if you turn on ABC right now and go watch Young Sheldon or CSI Miami and tell me this isn't better than 95% of the television
Right.
out there.
Oh, don't
You know?
slack on CSI Miami.
I've only got, well, if I ever decide there's like 25 years of it to catch
Is
up
that even
on.
still on? Yeah, I was
I
going to
don't know. I
say.
don't even know.
That's
No idea.
like
There's a
30
lot of
years
it, though.
old.
There's a lot of CSI out there. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week for the penultimate, to use a movie term or a TV term or whatever, episode of The Penguin. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.